everybody to a knowledge transfer session for Ley Love Down, this time with beautiful Cheryl Prince. Obviously, we've also got Billy here. Welcome, Cheryl. Welcome, Billy.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello. So we've got a very interesting topic today, which it covers ley lines, but it also covers what's called psycho-pomping. And I actually learnt this term, I think it was from our mutual friend, whose name for some reason doesn't come in.
Fergus.
Fergus, thank you
Yes.
very much.
Yeah, yeah.
He learnt that apparently from you, or he shared that with me from knowledge of you. So could you just start us off, Cheryl, with just a little bit of an idea of what psychopumping is?
Yes. Yeah, so we were both at the same talk. Your video was at Fergus called it Fighting the Spiritual War, basically. And so psychopumping is the it's a shamanic term. I call it, I'm a soul guide, so I call it something a little bit differently, moving people on to the dimensions. But it's basically where souls get stuck. And it's a very old practice, but it's the practice of people. Usually they come together in community to move souls on. Um, Very interestingly, and I don't hear many shamans or teachers talking about this, we've got to question why souls get stuck. Yes, loads of shamans, healers will go, oh, yeah, we need to move souls on. It was a practice that I found out from a medium years back when I was, about 15 years ago. And she said, oh, yeah, we all come together in church and we help the souls that are stuck, the earthbound spirits, to move on. And I was like, why doesn't anyone talk about this?
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. And then as soon as I got trained, day one as a shaman, I didn't really take the training. It was literally we were opening our books and we were like, let's tap into the energy. And I started to move souls on because I could see them trapped. So it's an ancient practice that I think loads of us just know in our soul. But more recently, I've kept asking Spirit the question, why do you need us? Because there's nothing divine about souls getting trapped anywhere. It's not a natural process. And it leads on to ley lines and portals and all the rest of it, but it's not normal. And I think more people might want to ask that question. Why do you need people to psychopomp? Because the divine, the Holy Spirit, the the big, great Mother of God, as I call it, or whatever you want, would not set up a template to go, oh, and you're going to get stuck.
Yeah.
They will send loads of people to go, well, we know how to move them off and shift them on, but it's exactly the same as the ley lines. I think it's really worth asking that question, why do they get stuck?
Yeah.
And why do you need psychopumping today?
Yeah, 100%. And I do get asked this question quite a bit because I teach a course on psychic development and psychic protection. And on that note, I'll just let everybody know that I've already done a protection prayer for today because we're going to be talking about some really interesting stuff. And I always do a protection prayer before I do an interview anyway. But I just wanted to make sure people know who are watching this as well at a later date. You're protected and everything, anything relating to this is actually going to be a protective aspect, not anything that's of any kind of danger. But my understanding used to be that the souls that got stuck were the ones that were suicides, for instance, which I don't believe they're stuck anymore in a sense. But I'm starting to understand, and I don't know if it's the same understanding that you have, that the way that the ley lines are co-opted and controlled by dark forces means that souls do get stuck.
Yes. Yes. So I used to have that belief, oh, it's just suicide. Not just, but that's because it's an unnatural process in a way. But let's also remember the suicide programming. So I don't know whether people know, but through soul abuse, mind control abuse, people have a suicide programming where they, want out. I speak about this because I've had to go through it myself. More recently, I've been under high level psychic attack. Over the last few years, there's been a lot of times where I didn't want to be here, didn't want to be here, and it got quite dark. And I was like, these aren't my thoughts. These are not my thoughts. I know better than this. And I've had to release that. So, once again, if people get stuck because of committing suicide, putting a suicide program in is very clever. But actually, it goes way beyond that. Souls get stuck because there's amazing portals around the world, really beautiful. I was clearing one out in Hawaii the other day. Like I literally astral travel and go, oh my God, there's loads of people stuck. And what I could see there, and that's got such a massive, beautiful portal out of, so we go out of the world on all these power spots and all these portals. So if they get jammed up, like the ley lines, and I believe that the leys go into the portals, so they're not separate. But that means that you've got loads of souls trapped. You've got even more souls trapped on trauma points where wars happened. So this is going on interdimensionally. It's a very clever, magical level of abuse. And so that's why I feel so sad when people go, I don't want to get involved in magic. I don't believe in it. It's like, well, great, but there are forces bigger than you that do believe in magic and understand it and master it. So we really need to master this interdimensional work so that we can do the opposite and regain control. And we are. I have nothing but a positive thing to say about the spiritual war. I'm not here, to scare, to put fear, to say that we're losing. We're not. We're absolutely not. But knowledge is power. It really is. Knowledge is absolute power. And the knowledge of this level of magic has been really hidden. And that's why, even though sometimes I'm like, really, Spirit, this is my purpose, being what I call a psychic spy and being able to see how these dark forces work has been a gift that I'm perhaps not always grateful for, depending what day it is.
Yeah, it's a hard slog. It's a hard slog. I might share screen and just share your website so people get a bit of an idea of what you do because it's pretty amazing. So this is Cheryl's website, 5D Theatre, Stage of Awakening, how appropriate. So there's the mission. And again, we have Ley Love Down, the mission being to help people to understand the significance of ley lines and how important they are. You're in a unique position where you actually do things in theatre. So you have an opportunity to be getting a lot of attention for what you do, which is wonderful. So obviously you do you work as a healer as well? No, you work as a shaman.
Yeah, so basically, so when the soul sessions part of my website, even though it needs or the whole website's getting updated for the new year. Yeah, so I work as a soul guide. I call it a soul guide, and it's really difficult to cover what I do because I work with souls. I never know. So I turn up and I go, well, what does this soul need? So that might be psychic work. I work as a medium, so I can speak to spirits, but I call it multi-dimensional mediumship because I wouldn't want someone to do a session with me and just want to speak to their parents or their lost loved ones on the other side because one, they might be the strongest soul in their family. And that means I would rather bring their soul wisdom through than someone in their family who has I don't mean to be rude, but a lower consciousness or a lower level of soul knowledge. Or it might be that they've got a higher guide on their timeline. So I don't like to, or it might be that they need me to psychically view some kind of level of spiritual abuse they've been through and to bring that through and heal that or entity work. Or we might be shipping souls off to the other side or doing very interdimensional work. The thing is, it's not on me, it's on their soul. So everybody that I work with, I'm like blown away by the level of ability they have in their soul. And that's kind of how I work. So I found it very hard to actually describe it because once you're working with someone's soul, you never know what level they're going to take you because it's their soul.
Yeah.
But it does give me assurance. Wow, we've got a powerful force down here because I sent a commitment to spirit that I would work to be the healers of the healers. So I shifted up and going, let me really help the people that are trying to do something or don't know what to do or about to do it. Let me be the healer for the healers. And honestly, doing that work has made me go, oh my God, we're in good hands down here. We're in good hands.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I don't know if people are aware of the biblical sort of belief that the last war is over the ley lines, because I really believe that's true. So that's the spiritual war that we're in. It's actually a biblical reference. And, these are biblical times. We're living through the weirdest time. It is just bizarre. I had downloads over the last few years that we're not stuck on Prison Planet anymore. we can escape, but it's because people like yourself are recognizing, oh, these souls are trapped and we've got to do something about it. Um, Also that, the veil is lifted, and I've seen so much evidence of that. It doesn't seem to exist anymore. It seems to be pretty much disintegrated. I don't know if that's your perspective on it at this time.
Yeah, so interesting. So alongside the healing work, I make theatre first and foremost. And my so the healer and the theatre maker isn't separate. They're just, so everything that I'm channeling, seeing, I put into storytelling form and hoping that it makes it accessible for a lot of people. But mainly it's for spiritually inclined people at the core to go, oh God, yes, thank God for talking about this. Um, so my second play, AI Angel, is about moving into a society of transhumanism and having a massive soul loss civilization. So I'm kind of at this point where spirit gives me stuff at the right time, and this play has taken 5 years to come through as it is.
Oh,
So it used to be about something else, and now it's like, no, no, go with this. And it's a lot of the work is about going into the soul trap, and trying to encourage as many as people to come out. And as we've talked about it before, about people passing over, there's this belief that, our souls can get trapped on the way out, but it can get trapped on the way in. Parts of your trauma can get stuck in this soul trap. So I think what I'm understanding is we need to get our head around the level of abuse that plays out in the astral realm, because I think there's some ways that, we never lost a war. If you can get back to spirit, whatever spirit is to you, you it's always fine. You're never harmed in the spiritual dimension. Everything is always fine. So in some ways, you can never lose a war because spirit exists as Satan or dark forces, or whatever you want to call them, archons, or however you see them. They exist, but spirit's the master. Spirit's the grand presence. So you can never lose a war in that sense. But the problem is that the war against the consciousness is to lose that connection to spirit.
absolutely.
So that's how you
Absolutely.
get soul lost. And
Yeah.
that's how it's clever. And that's if you put stuff into your skin, microchips, things that are coming, you're completely distorted by radio waves, the electricity, the false light, Luciferian energy that's on this consciousness. So it just means that people would be able to get soul loss in this lifetime, passing over in that. So even though they can't lose entirely, because there's always a way back, we're at the point now of navigating where do you want to go and how do we get you back?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. So it's kind of perspective. For me, no, I don't consent. I do not consent. So I'm not going to get lost. You're not going to hack my soul. I can find it. I'll get it back and you can keep trying, but you can't. And that's what I hope for everybody as much as possible. I'm on this mission to just save as many souls as possible. You don't need saving. You can always get back, but there are a lot of people that are getting very lost on the way.
Yeah. 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 Actually, there's a very good question in the chat before about whether or not people who've had the COVID shots are kind of trapped.
Yes, so interestingly, I was doing treatment around this back. I didn't want to advertise it because I didn't want to encourage it. So I didn't advertise that I was doing this work, but people came to me, and basically I was seeing the soul jump out of the body
Wow.
as it was going in, and I could see that the soul was like, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, because it was a new level of consciousness.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I found out recently because I had some childhood vaccinations, which I never had, but I got MS as a child, so I just was
Wow.
completely wiped out. And I was like, I think that was all related. And I was told, and I was like, this makes sense that the angel, I have a massive spiritual team. Thank you very much. I don't call them enough. I'm just saying I appreciate them all. And they were like, yeah, we did. Basically, she didn't know I used to do this, but they did the same for me. But
Wow.
as they neutralized it. So yes, I think I think many people, it did different things for different people. I think where they needed to come in, some people were um, saved or distorted or could neutralize it. I always think it's better not to do something to test your body, but I think people can neutralize it completely and talk and get the soul back in. That's not me recommending doing anything. I think it's just worth knowing that. But that being said, it did kill my dad, so I don't take it very lightly what happened. He had turbo cancer and a very painful death and a very big soul loss process for it. I learned my spiritual work truly 3 years ago. I retrieved it because of saving my dad's soul from being stuck. So, this isn't a subject I'm like, oh, you'll be fine. It broke me. It broke my heart. So, yeah, I can see what the agenda was about. And it was heartbreaking watching my dad. So I guess on a higher level, because I'm a spiritual rescue worker, my true initiation was through my dad. But I don't feel okay with that because no one should be sacrificed in that way. I don't believe in sacrifice. So yeah, I'm just saying that because I know a lot of people's lives would have been touched by it. So yeah, I don't take it lightly that, oh, okay, you can be so. It's like I witnessed how horrible and horrific it was. So
Yeah, it is truly horrific. It's interesting. We were speaking off camera about, the archon or the parasitic element with, a lot of illness. So you've just mentioned MS, which is amazing. So I know very likely it was from those childhood vaccinations, probably because it affected your immune system badly.
yeah,
That's what allows these things in. So I'm curious because I know of people who've had MS. One in particular had a spontaneous remission when a blue light came into her room, an all spectacular story. And I looked into it, and it's actually not uncommon for people to have a blue
yes,
light bring in a
that's
spontaneous healing.
yes. So that is so interesting because recently, so I've been doing some entity clearing work for me, and we spoke before. So I've been under a very high level of attack. I had to really reach out and get help because I was like, they're going to take me under. What happened to me was I had an interdimensional parasite. So I think a lot of people know that parasites are the cause of all illness, I believe. But
Yeah.
I've been working for a long time to kind of expose that because it's a negative attachment, it's an entity. But the level of it coming through the astral realm, I was like, I can fight it down here, try and eat right, try and cleanse, try and take herbs. But I was like, it's astral. So if we don't get it into the spiritual element, I'm just fixing, fixing, fixing.
Yeah.
And so I had an amazing session with I think her name's Laura Van Tyne. I really recommend her work. She's done a book about the spiritual war herself. It's rare that I can find healers to go to. And we worked together. She was like, whoa. She was like, you've been under attack for eons. She's like, I'm surprised you're still standing. I was like, thanks. At least you get it. I was like, and she literally, got the entity off, and my energy was like, she was like, oh God. And I was like, God, I forgot I was this light. I'd
Wow.
forgotten how light my natural energy is. I'd been so lost from it. Um, but yeah, so yeah, really powerful work. But yeah, you need to get to the root of the cause of that. And I think absolutely everything that we take, our body is a temple. We are sacred beings, we are divine beings in our body as much as outside. So I think this biblical term of the ley lines, we've got to remember that we are a ley line.
Exactly.
We are an energy vortex,
Yeah.
you know? So the earth and us are mirroring each other. So it's an attack on the both, isn't it? And I think that's what the true teachers are telling you. You're a temple. The
Mm.
earth is a temple. We are sacred beings. The divine isn't out there, it's right inside.
Yeah.
So, that's the attack, isn't it? Anything that is inorganic, parasitical has to just, that energy has to source off you because it can't source because it doesn't have a soul. doesn't have a spirit. And anything that doesn't have a soul or a spirit has to go, I have to latch on, I have to take. And that's unfortunately why we've got next level SRA. It's all about taking and having no soul, no spiritual consciousness. And that's what I mean about the soul loss. When you get that degraded, you don't know spirit exists anymore because you haven't accessed it.
Yeah.
So, you see it in small points where people are lost because they don't know what light feels like. They don't know what true love feels like, and I'm so blessed because my spiritual awakening was to the light. I should probably speak about it. I forget people don't know, but 10 years ago, it was my first audition for acting, and my nan, who was in spirit, beautiful lady, earth angel, absolute earth angel. Um, she came through in the rehearsal room physically. I saw her. I've never seen spirit before or since. And she was in this portal of light, and it was broke open this veil. And I looked and I was like, oh my God, there's so much love here. I was just filled with this warmth. And then she placed her hand on my back and said, don't be so afraid. And I was terrified at the time, terrified of acting, wanted to do it my whole life. I was just scared. And then she just disappeared. And then the next day I went back and into the same rehearsal room, and the director looked me in the eye and he put his hand on my back and he said, don't be so afraid.
Oh, wow.
And I started to wear like, I hadn't
Amazing.
told anyone because I was a bit like, I don't usually see a spirit walk into a room. So I don't want to talk to people about this. This is weird. Um, and then, yeah, basically he said, there's an older woman around you, light a candle for her when you get home. Now do your audition. And I did it, and I just was in the flow of this, yeah, divine realm. So yeah, as much as I've seen how the darkness plays out, for want of a better word, my first initiation was into don't forget, right through that veil, right through the divine portal is so much love and light. It's ridiculous.
What an
Um,
incredible way, because that's a marriage between the theatre work that you wanted to do and your spiritual life. So that is so
so
perfect.
yeah, I was like, I just want to be a normal actor. So this is why 5D Theatre exists, because my first play is about basically a so-called witch, and I say so-called because I don't identify as a witch. Please do. I've been through a massive witch awakening, but I identify as a healer, and I speak up for the cunning folk who were the healers of the 17th century that were persecuted as witches. My belief is that the witches killed the witches.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I get a bit, not good witches. There's so many beautiful witches, so I'm not, but I just know that the dark arts of witchcraft has hidden behind the veil.
Yeah.
And it was witchcraft abuse that killed people as witches because they used magical spells. They took them to ley lines. They killed witches. They hung them. So they cut off the air element. They drowned them. So they damaged their water element. They burnt them. So there's fire elements. They were working with elemental magic, and they took them all. If you look into history, they took them all to ley line sites and killed them on there in mass deliberately. Because if you take loads of healers to a ley line site and then wipe them all out, what you do for the level of soul abuse, which meant that loads of healers didn't have healers around them to
Yeah.
pass the souls on. And so that's why the witch craze was so bad, because it was a direct attack on the cunning folk, known by other names, or healers, or psychics, or mediums, but to harm the soul more than the body. Because take my body if you're gonna, but you ain't touching my soul. That's the big attack.
And you can still see that the reverberations of that, and probably other massacres in the past, in those of us who are awake now and are aware of our past lives too, because it's just a ripple effect. It keeps going. So again, it was clever, horrific. But we're coming to a time, I believe, where so many people are waking up about this sort of thing. I really feel that that balance of power with the Satanists, controlling things, has completely reversed. Well, I can't say completely. There are still hangers on who think that they're in control. And at the moment, it's almost amusing watching them play out these stupid games. But there's so much truth coming out at the moment. It's overwhelming. I did make a prediction years ago that by November of this year we'd be sick of the truth, and it's
Yeah,
I'm
it's
very
true.
sick of it.
And I will say, because there's no time-space reality, I
Yeah.
have sent my soul back now to every lifetime I was persecuted
Oh
and
wow.
took my soul back. And everybody that was there, I've seen everybody else's soul step in. So I feel like in this beautiful dance, we all gathered at this time to go, now go back into that portal and take your soul up from that. And so there's a massive level of integration because it's like, whilst they've got looking glass technology or they've got their spyware or they can break portals open, yes, they can, but they're forgetting that we have spiritual spyware and there's nothing higher than that. So
That
we
oh
go through and go,
shivers. Yeah.
yeah, go back to
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
site of abuse. And the amount of undoing of magic I do in this lifetime, and no doubt, but it feels like this is the lifetime to undo it, and that's how the war as such is won, because it's like, well, we'll just go back to those sites and retrieve all those souls. So we were never alone, and we were never forsaken, we were never sacrificed, because our soul and our spirit team always had a back to come in at the right time.
Yeah.
But I believe we had to go through it, and this is just my belief, if it doesn't resonate, fine. But just to you have to become aware of this, because otherwise we're innocent, beautiful children being sacrificed as such. And
Yeah.
that has to stop
Mm,
above everything else. This has to stop. You can't harm uh children of the divine. Like you just can't do that. That's not okay. That's not karmically, and we've been harmed in so many ways, and it's not divine. That has to go.
mm.
It's
Yeah.
done. You have to leave and face your own karmic thing that is not mine to play out, because I as a human can't reach that forgiveness. There's something else can, or it'll play out as it will.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that, those of us who've stepped up to be, a spokesperson or a shaman or a healer, and there's many in this group, losing that or turning your back on that fear of persecution is a big part of it. It's a very difficult tightrope to walk, because being out there with this sort of stuff, like you were saying before about the witchiness thing, you get labeled, you're this, you're that, especially, for people who've been through satanic ritual abuse. You either go the Christian way, many, many do, and they denigrate anybody who still does the psychic work, especially if they've been through psychic programming, or they do what we're doing to try and bring attention to these things. Because, like you said, if people don't do this work, the souls stay trapped. So it's an interesting process, and I take my hat off to you, because obviously you're doing it in a big way, in a big and a very proud way, and you're doing it through theatre as well, which is not it's not easy. So thank you, thank you.
Well, I mean, I have so much. I have to stand back because basically the reason I know so much about SRA and is because I time travel and I've seen so many. When we talk about the spiritual persecution, I first used to see it as, being wiped out as a witch and a scene, a Cathar, all of those lifetimes when it was like I tried to live my spiritual truth and it wasn't happening.
Mm,
But then what I was going into deeper was the amount of horrible magic abuse my soul has suffered, the amount of sacrifice, the amount of not making it past a baby and being offered up on an altar. And so then I started to work with a lot of people that had SRA in this lifetime. And I realized that because it's been so ghosted, it's been so silenced, and I'd seen it all in my soul, I was like, I know the truth in it. So it felt like that to speak out and have that level of trauma in this lifetime, the lifetimes I had that trauma, I'm not sure I could have done as big work. So it's like I'm not going to not stand by my sisters and brothers that have been through it now when I know the reality of it. I've seen it, I witness it, I can see it in your soul. I know the truth of it. There's no lying in it. This is what's actually happened. It's horrific that I felt, I know it was my soul's kind of obligation to bring justice to the lifetimes it's happened to me, but to give to support because today I can stand stronger. Because honestly, I don't know if I'd have come into it with that level of abuse in this lifetime, whether I'd have been okay enough to speak about it. So I truly, that's kind of my cause. It's like I have so much respect for people like yourself and others that speak out about it because, not only did you go through something horrific in this lifetime, a level of trauma people can't even comprehend, but then you go and do something good with it. And that's shifting the paradigm and bringing back love, the X factor that anyone from the dark doesn't understand. That's a hero's journey that, like nothing else. So there's no way I'm not going to stand by and support that in this lifetime.
Thank
So that's why, yeah,
you. The
it's
way I
really
look
true.
at it, they tried to kill me so many times, and I got to see the other side. So that fear of death, it's still there, but it's not like the normal fear of death. You have these experiences, and you just don't have that same fear, and it's very liberating. Not that I'm suggesting anybody do this, by the way, but it is. It's a liberation in a way because because life here is hard, but life on the other side, in the angelic realms is amazing. And it's funny, I've been joking that I won't be coming back because I'm done this time. But I've been sort of joking lately because I do think we're coming into a really beautiful paradigm once all this stuff is cleaned up. I might come back as somebody's cat. I'll be pampered and loved.
Do you
Yes.
know, it's weird. I'm coming back. Like,
Oh,
I'm really
wow.
excited
Okay.
to come back, and people are like, "What? I'm done with this planet." I'm like, I think there's so much juice. I mean, obviously, there's horrible stuff here. I get that. But I just want to say, like, my soul, I love theatre. I love acting. I love writing. I love creative life. Like, I love it. And my soul went, right. She ain't gonna like this warrior work we've got to have her do. Right, what we'll do is we'll get her to do it in theatre
Yeah.
because she loves, and then we'll get her to forget it all because she won't do it. And then we'll get her to fight her whole life to being too scared to do theatre. And then we'll give her the gift of doing the acting thing, and then we'll make her realize why she's really doing it. And I think that orchestration of we are in a time where we can do any spiritual work in any form that we love. And that's like, I'm blown away that I get to be a healer and a theatre maker and an actor and a writer. Like that in the physical world, and it's not very physical for me. That's that's beautiful magic.
Isn't it?
That's my little soul. And the
Yeah.
reason that I love theatre so much is because when I was about 5 years old, I used to perform in Luton Library, where I'm from, which magical things are happening there. And I played the Blue Fairy once. And I remember just having this improv dance, and I was spreading magic on stage. And I looked out into the audience and I thought, can everyone see this? And I
Oh,
knew it existed. So I was just like, can
wow.
anyone see this magic? And I remember that feeling of going, I've got to keep the magic alive. And I
Wow.
just knew. Now, interestingly, years later, if you look at Pinocchio and the Blue Fairy story, the Blue Fairy is going, here's your soul, here's your spirit back. Because he's an object that doesn't have a soul, right? So Pinocchio gets infused with life. Now, when I realized that on a bigger level, there's beings that want to take life force out of a body,
Yeah.
and that's transhumanism. And then there's beings that go, I want to give you your soul back, your spirit back. And so I was playing the blue fairy is my life role, How can I bring you your soul back, And so in theatre, I might do it in a different way, but it's still like, how can I bring your soul's consciousness back? And I remember someone saying to me when I first shared my first play about the witch persecution, I put in my business plan, can I get people to remember they were that witch and wake up to that past life? And then we went, whoa, let's put it in the business plan and see what happens. And someone came back to me after the performance. She went, the woman that you named, that was me. I was killed as that witch in the past life. And I was like,
Wow.
okay. So
That is just beautiful.
I was
That's
like,
awesome.
you put these things out. So I think I've put very big things into this business man about can I wake up the whole of soul's consciousness and can we all retrieve our souls home now? Yeah, I'm going to put that in and see whether that happens.
Please do, because that is
But
the true essence of alchemy. Is you live your passion, which is what you're doing, And you ask for certain things to occur because that's what your heartfelt passion is that you want to create. And it happens because you're living your passion. And this is what people need to learn, especially now we need to get out of the paradigm of working for somebody, doing something we cannot stand because we think that's the only way to make it. And it just isn't. That's slavery, stepping into your own power and doing what you're supposed to do, what you want to do, what gives you passion and joy to spring out of the bed in the morning. That is what you're meant to be doing. That's what you incarnated for. So, I
Yes.
put on about this quite a bit because it's so important and you're an embodiment of it.
Yes, I'm so glad you've said that because it's the light of these times. But I want to add to that that don't think when it gets hard, because gets really hard when you work for yourself,
Yeah.
because you're all the blocks that come up, all of the problems, and you're accountable to yourself. And there is a part of us, or definitely a part of me, that was so ingrained in the old program that I kind of wanted someone. I got so used to someone telling me what to do. I'm a rebel spirit, but actually it was like, oh, now I don't know what to do because I'm so free. And actually, I found it harder than I thought. But so don't worry about that. You can get over that, clear
Yeah.
that out. But sometimes the hardest work. So another magical thing that happened with the theatre. So yeah, because I know that a lot of healers, witches were killed on these sacred ley lines. I went round to do like a ley line tour and go and heal the lands. I worked on the Hellfire's Cave and I went over to Ireland and I was going to all of these places going, where does my theatre want to go? Let me go and speak to the land. And then last year I moved back to Luton for a while and I was like, Spirit, why are you sending me back to Luton? Which, as I was saying, is known as the one of the biggest knife crime places where I was born. And but I knew that there was a sacred ley line there. And so one day I just thought, I'm going to go and talk to the ley line and see what is saying and what it wants me to do. And I went up to the ley line and put my hand on it. And by the way, I just found it intuitively because I think some of us just know that, okay, it's there. And I put my hand on it and I said, what do you need? And it went like healing, like I need you to connect and acknowledge I'm here. And so I just placed my hands on it and was like, okay. And I was like, and if I have permission for my theatre to come here, then you let it happen. And if I don't have permission, then send me away. Because that's how we break the colonialism of like, we own land, we own it, it's like, no, can I be here? And then I went away. And then the next week, I went to a women's circle in Luton and she was like, oh, you were on the murder spot. So there was a triple murder in Luton about a week before. Well, I don't watch the news, so I didn't know. And I looked at the footage and I had my hands on that spot where they'd caught it. And I knew that
Right.
part of the conflict that's going on there is because of, yeah, I saw so many pylons and grids around that. I was like, oh my God, this poor earth. Anyway, about 2 months later, a henge was built beside the site I was in. Like, I know, I've been searching for that. They built a henge 2 months later. And I was like, what now? What? And they were like, oh, it's like an amphitheater, an outside theater, and a henge. And I was like, so here I have been searching around the world doing healing work. And my friend was like, you just manifested a henge. And like, you don't see the magic of the level of this playing out. Like, you really got to take stock. She only said that the other day. I thought, oh God, yeah,
Yeah.
this is how big it gets. So now I've got one of this play, a reading on the henge for International Women's Day next year.
Oh, wow.
But, and I was a bit like, you couldn't make this stuff like
No,
when you
no.
surrender to make it bigger. And
Yeah.
I opened the Luton Henge Festival last year, and I opened it doing shamanic drumming. And they booked me in the morning when no one was around. And I managed to get these two healers in, and we opened up the circle. And we were like, the energy here was it was chaotic, it was difficult. But then when we'd cleared it, it was like, oh, I understand that this is a power spot. So right behind it, there's these big older ley lines, and this whole bank that is older than Stonehenge because it's right by the River Lea,
Wow.
and it's got a really interesting Celtic history going into London. And I was like, wow.
Is that
So
LEA, Lee?
LEA, yeah.
Because that's another word for ley line. How's that?
Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just telling
Amazing.
you all the lays are here.
Yeah.
This is, yeah. So,
Wow.
I think there's a lot of very famous places for ley lines, but Luton's ley line portal is just ridiculous. And then I did a healing session with someone, and for some reason we went into their healing session, and I was carrying their body through St Mary's Church in Luton. I was
Wow.
like, why are we in here? And I was like, oh my God, this is a sacred temple that has been changed hands. And, it's, yeah, it's just in a different space. But people come down to see the St. Mary's line that run underneath it. It's part
Yeah.
of the tour, the St. Mary's and Michael's line that comes right up through. Interestingly, this is also the witch persecution tour. So
Wow.
if you look at Matthew Hopkins, the famous witchfinder general, there's a lot of the killings that go along that line. Um, and I think there's been something in Bury St Edmunds and stuff that's been kept silent, and I'm still picking at what that is. And I've spoken to Giles, who I think you've spoken to, who does
Yeah.
the singing on the ley lines. There's more to be uncovered there. I'm gonna get at it. But yeah, that amazing. You go into the church and it's just phenomenal. And
Wow.
also, I've been working in the church, so I'm doing an event on the 20th of February now in that church with this sort of witch play and working class stories. And they're beautiful. I think we've got to remember that it doesn't really matter what faith or belief people have if they're all reaching for the same spiritual essence.
Yeah.
And it feels like a massive healing is occurring. But I was also like, hang on, we've just done some beautiful energetic work. And within a week, I was booked in at the church to do an event.
Wow. Just
I was like,
beautiful. I just love it. So were you saying that a lot of these witch trials were actually on the St. Mary line? So they were doing that horrible inversion of the female energy. Oh my God.
yeah. So the Bury St Edmunds, which is the more well-known ley line area, it runs through. Because I went to work on it with Giles and we were singing around it. It's beautiful ley line that's very healed, I would say.
Wow.
Now, I guess because of the people that have been working on it, but that ley line that runs up right down from is Cornwall, isn't it? Where is it up, down the Michael and Mary line, the really powerful one across the UK? I think it's because interestingly, there's the Witch Museum that's down there where it
Oh, really?
starts. Yeah,
Good
and
grief.
I'm not sure. I've been to the Witch Museum, and
I think I
yeah,
need to check that out. That sounds
yeah, do
amazing.
some
Okay.
research into the
Yeah,
history.
yeah.
But it is run by very heartfelt people. But I was a bit like, yeah, but if you look into the research of where covens are
Yeah.
um, throughout, so you've got Gerald Gardner who started the Wicca movement back in the 60s, but he had a coven in Forest of Dean, a
Okay.
hidden coven. And then
Okay.
you have the hidden coven down in Cornwall. That's why I just say, like, be mindful of what some witch covens are doing. Now,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, I've been in a coven before many lifetimes and done really, really spiritually aligned work. But where there's light magic, there's also dark magic.
Of
So
course.
I'm very
Yeah.
mindful. But yeah, this same light line goes straight into St Mary's Church in Luton. And it was also where the Queen has come many, many times.
Wow.
Have Yeah, and Luton Hoo as well. The Queen of England had her honeymoon there, I believe. And it's a big stately home. And I remember looking at there's little messages about history. And I was like, Winston Churchill has been here, having a conference, this, that. I was just looking and reading them all going, okay, now I'm doing a little satanic tour of the place. Because
Yeah.
it's, yeah, full on the history of both sides of the war.
So you've got a pretty good idea of why you incarnated into Luton specifically. No wonder you're getting psychic attack, Dylan, really.
Yes,
Because you're
yeah,
doing very
well,
important work.
yeah. And I met a medium. I went to a mediumship event at the Spiritualist Church, and he said the two women that I was with, they were like, he said at the end, he was like, you do know that you were all killed as witches in Bedfordshire.
Wow.
Luton's in Bedfordshire. And I was like, I had suspected. And he was like, yeah, you were doing really good magic, but no one believed that. So you've not been able to fulfill your lifetime until this lifetime. And I
Wow.
was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And now it's like, okay, now I know why they put me back to Luton and then the Henge and St Mary's Church. And like, so I guess there's a level of beautiful social justice that's happening today, for all that we've lost and all that was taken, we're taking it back into the hands of healers and not harmers. And
Oh,
that's,
absolutely. And that's a beautiful segue. I'm just going to share screen again. Because I think one of the main reasons why people love to watch these knowledge transfer sessions is they've got questions about what to do in ley lines. So again, if you want to find Cheryl, you can find her at 5dtheatre.co.uk. I just want to share the Ley Love Down website has resources and we have protocols. So if you want to go there, you can find all the protocols. So I'll just share those very briefly. So you go to protocols and documents, and then this is the different types. We've got a very short on-site memoir. So it's just basically a prayer of protection that you can say when you go to somewhere. So there's a long version and a short version that you can just download. Is there anything specific? Obviously, you've got your socials here, Cheryl. Is there anything specific on your website that you'd like me just to look at right now for everybody?
yeah, so you can pop into the 5D community
Yep.
page.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and this was the event at St Mary's that's coming up.
Wow, excellent. Okay. Oh, that
Yeah,
would be
this will be
really
at St
interesting.
Mary's Church. I
Okay.
am going to add in the event on the Henge to this page as well.
Brilliant.
So anyone that's very interested and more local in ley lines, it's really worth uh, coming down to that and feeling it yourself, how powerful that is. It's a sacred site, and then to put a witch persecution reading on it is just going to be a very powerful event. So that's going to be
Absolutely.
added on there. Yeah, but
There we
this,
go. There's your roots. Fantastic.
yeah, there's my roots. Yeah, Luton's, yeah, a very rich place that's getting overlooked. So I feel very blessed that I'm going to be talking about Luton's legacy because it has a lot of activism and a lot of social justice and yeah, all of those things wrapped in. So yeah, there's that. And
Fantastic.
then,
Anything
yeah,
else you'd like me to focus on?
yeah. So I guess just the soul sessions, which is the next 5D sessions.
Awesome.
So yeah, that will be updated, but yeah, that's how anyone can work with me if they
Fantastic.
want to. Yeah, and I think I just want to add it to what you've said about ley lines that I think is really important because I go and do a lot of work, energy work with the leys, but my biggest learning, and I think we spoke about this a while back, was about getting harmed on the ley lines.
Yeah.
And even though I say go work with the ley lines, remember that your energy is more important. It's not about, sometimes we have an old ancestral pull towards sacrifice because we have been sacrificed. So we have a template in us that it's okay to be sacrificed. So that can turn out like we put other people before us, or we put the healing work before us, or we go and through loving hearts, we go and heal the earth and we go, but remember that you're the temple. You should never have been sacrificed. You should never have been harmed. You're a child of the divine. And I learned the hard way. I still have to tell myself that. I still have to make sure that I'm not giving too much. And I still have to sometimes say, I'm not going to do the work today because I went to Ireland and got very damaged all down my spine through going straight to the earthwork and not doing enough protection and not doing enough. What do I need? And not taking people with me that sometimes you need to go and work in community to do this work. Sometimes you shouldn't be doing it alone.
Yeah.
Sometimes that means giving your spiritual call, just getting all the tribes with you, knowing that. So I don't take the work lightly for ley line healing
Yeah.
because first and foremost, I'm an energy healer. And so if your energy is not right, and that being said, if your energy is aligned and you're in a good space, you are going to be the most powerful person to take to that um, portal. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying it to be afraid of it. God, we need you, and when it's right, go and do it, but don't do it so it's detrimental to your health, because what they've done to some of these portals is really heavy. And if
Yeah,
you've got trauma from those lifetimes on that land, it can be really triggering, and nobody sort of talks enough about that. Because you don't know, oh, will I get triggered on a land from a past life? Yes, you could well do. And
yeah,
that means all of that trauma that's stuck in your body from all of those memories um, is going to want to come out and, yeah, be
yeah.
healed.
It's not something to be taken lightly. And I know when Ben and I was first discussing how we were going to sort of try and encourage people to do the work, there was an understanding that we both came to that this it's more beneficial for people who are true healers like yourself to go out there and do the work. But there is also something that lay people can do, but do not go in if you have fear. If you feel bad on the day, it's not a good idea. You got to look after yourself first, exactly as you said, and then use protocols for protection, use sound healing for protection, sound energies, tuning forks, anything that's got a beautiful, loving frequency, 432 hertz, 528 hertz, those things are very protective. Then you can go out.
Mm.
Take your animals with you. Animals are amazingly tuned in. And if they don't want to go in the ley line, don't go in.
Yeah.
I was talking, was it with you, Billy? Someone the other day about their dog would avoid the ley line. No, it was Sarah. So she throws a ball and the dog will avoid the ley line. So she knows, well, there's something not quite right with that ley line. I mean, dogs are so smart. Cats are
Yeah.
amazing. They do this sort of work all the time. Cats will
Yeah.
purr in a ley line, in a negative ley line to bring the frequency up or to create a healing frequency, which is just incredible. So they're always working on those things. So if your cat has a particular place in the garden or in the house that they sit and they purr in, that you think, that looks so uncomfortable. Why is the cat there? It's because they're doing work. It's not just because cats work all the time. They're not lazy, they're very busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So pay attention
Yeah.
to things around you. If there's no birds singing in that area, maybe not a great place to go.
And we are that smart as animals. We just have trained it out. It's like that's the thing,
Exactly.
isn't it? Following that intuition. Because I bet you, I don't know many healers that wouldn't know to go, I'm just going to sing right now. Or I'm going to talk to the trees. I'm going to get support. I'm going to call in. Yeah, I think it's just about using all of your multi-dimensional gifts. And if that is, I feel off today. It's like, yeah, then don't do it, because you
Yeah.
need to just take care of you, and I know, because I'm a spiritual warrior, that sometimes I go in full guns blazing and it's like, well, you've hurt yourself now. So I just put that as a warning. It's like, my ability to want to fight this war is like, calm down. I mean, I'm often told I'm just tired. I'm over it. I want it to be amazing here for everybody. But it's like, you know what? Calm down, because that's how the dark forces would get me. Because it's like, oh, great, chuck her in doing the good work, exhaust her, knock
Yeah.
her energy off, and now we've got a powerful healer that can't do the work.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
we're all powerful healers, so it's like this is how it manipulates and weaves.
Mm.
Um, that being said, don't forget your homes. I've just got a spiritual message to pass that off. We have powerful ley lines under our homes. It's been proven that an off ley line can cause cancer.
Yeah.
My dad died of cancer. The ley line underneath his bed where I sleep, I've been clearing that over the past week or so, because I saw it was diverted. So if it suddenly goes shift in energy, I could just see a very dark line. And
Wow.
I was like, oh God, I'm sleeping on. And I knew that. I knew that his illness was, I don't think it causes them. I think the parasites and the toxins and all the rest. But I think what it does is it helps accelerate it and make it worse, as any blocked energy line would. So I've
Yeah.
been clearing that in my home. So I'm saying that because we can often go and run to these spaces and go, how can I help the space? And it's like, also your home. Your
Yeah.
home is your
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
Yeah. There's a gentleman called Rory Duff, who I quote frequently, who said that, there's rarely a square kilometre that doesn't have a ley line in it. And the houses that I've looked at, including my own, just full of them. They're just, there's three or four that cross over. And, some are positively affecting and some are negatively affecting. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
a really good reminder. Thank you. I'll just open up. Does anybody have any questions for Cheryl while we've got her here? If you want to check there's a reactions bar at the bottom of the screen. If you want to sort of tap on that and hit the hand up bar, if you want to ask a question, you don't have to ask a question. I see there's nobody's clamoring.
There was one in the chat which I can ask
Oh,
for
cool.
Kristen. Can you explain spiritual abuse?
Oh, that's a really good question, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um, how do I, let me just think how I, because it's so multidimensional. So for me, to put it really distinctly, because I can't go into it in all levels, any kind of spiritual abuse at its nutshell is to feel, to be programmed, to be attacked at any level that takes you away from your true spiritual template.
beautifully put.
We come in, we did not devolve.
Yeah,
Um, we didn't, no, let me get that the right way round. So we came in as very high spiritual beings, and then we devolved. But then the natural Darwinian template tells us the wrong way round. So we've come far away from our natural spiritual template. We shouldn't be in a state where we're clamoring to go, okay, now I've got to get all my dimensions back. Now I've got to get connected. Now I'm falling out of, the earth, the energy lines are all perfect as they were. They were perfectly balanced. We were perfectly balanced. That's how we existed. So for me, spiritual abuse is taking the natural energy and making it distorted, harvesting it. Parasites aren't a natural thing. It isn't a natural thing. I'll just deal with it. They just exist. Nothing had to source off anything else because if everyone was sourcing off the beautiful divine spirit, there is no lack of energy, there's no lack of love, there's no lack of resources or anything. So for me, that abuse, which carries out in many ways, in very magical ceremonies and very twisted ways, which would just take me ages to go through it, each part. But the true abuse is that we can't self-source and that we can't reconnect and that we aren't completely complete. Then we get into poverty, we get into stealing from each other, we get into fear. That's all spiritual abuse. Um,
and
but
pretty
it,
much every religion teaches it. You're
yeah.
born of sin. How on earth can a baby be born of sin? I mean, it's infuriating. So yeah, it's being divorced from your soul self, your essence. Yeah, that's beautifully. You described it perfectly. Oh, Kristen, you got a question, darling?
Yeah. Hi, Cheryl. Uh,
Hello.
I thank you for answering that other question. Another one I had was you mentioned earlier about souls that stay trapped, and I was just wondering, were you referring to victims of SRA or perpetrators of SRA who get stuck?
Mm.
So to be as truthful as I can, no, it's not just them that get stuck. Um, in the soul dimension, the astral realm, when I go in, there's all sorts of souls still there. So there's earthbound spirits, and earthbound spirits aren't, they're choosing to be stuck. There's a choice in that. I go in and I say, do you want to move on? And they go, no. That could be because they left, they feel too early and they're still connected to their families. They might have, say, for example, somebody I know who is an alcoholic. So he was in very low density, but he's left children behind. So he doesn't want to move on, but he knows that he can, but just doesn't want to. So there's all those kind of different spiritual elements where people go, because it's not all, even though it's kind of a soul trap to me, because I'm like, it gets so much more beautiful. It's also like people have reasons that they want to be here to the earth. There was a lot of people that were killed as witches that stayed stuck. Bless them.
Wow.
They stayed stuck because they were like, I don't want you guys to leave past this history. And if I just move on, so they were staying, and then it wasn't until I started to write the play and make the discoveries that I could move them on because there's lots of people that stay for social justice.
Wow.
That's how beautiful some of the people are doing the war on the other side. So there's all of those in what I call the soul trap, for want of a better word. And then there's lots of entities, lots of trapped energies. So that probably they're the essence of people that have done some very dark things or are serving the demonics that are kind of running the land. And then there's actually like very high angelics in there. Like I spend a lot of my life in this soul trap to keep it aware and to keep it mindful of anybody that needs help out. Because if you spend so long in these very heavy dimensions, you can forget what you were there for and how to get out of it. So it's actually we're led to believe that it's like the demonics that run the day in the soul trap, but they don't, because we've got psychic spies so that we can jump in there and come out. So you might find if you have troubled sleep or you're quite trapped in, you're probably going into the soul trap yourself and doing a lot of work in the nighttime. Sometimes you don't even know that you've consented to it. So I add that in because sometimes I say, I'm having some time off now.
Yeah.
I'm too tired. Or I make sure that before I go to bed, I go, okay, I'm going to do the work, but don't let me get in any way attacked, but just let me float above the work. I don't need to be so far into the density. So there's a lot going on in the soul trap. It's not just the old conception of that. And then to add to that, when you get traumatized and your soul fragments, your soul parts are in there as well.
Yeah.
That's why they do magical ritual abuse, because your soul will get trapped in that realm that is their dominion as such, but they don't really own anywhere because of the psychic spies and the angelics that are in there and all the higher consciousness. They don't run the day. But
Mm.
yeah, there's a lot in there, and I think it's often not talked about how much detail, and I think that's important. And it's literally why I'm writing my second play, to really expose that realm. Because I know a lot of people get trained as healers to go into the astral realm and think, oh, this is, and then people read Akashic records and stuff. And I'm not saying that that's a problem, but I know that I've had to read soul records, not Akashic records, because the Akash was taken over by Thoth. Thoth is a dark magician. So we have to look at all
Yeah.
levels. I don't know why I needed to say that. I feel like I needed to say that for somebody.
Well, yeah, well, my father was into all the Egyptian deities, and Anubis was his like residential demon. So, it's
Yeah.
interesting how many people, there are many different takes on those entities. And I've always had a
Anubis,
negative connotation because my experiences were negative with him. But I
but
know people
Anubis
who
ships,
swear that they're good.
yeah, but Anubis ships off souls to the
Yeah,
underrealm. That's actually what he's tasked to
yeah,
do.
yeah,
So, if you look at the Anunnaki history, I had no collective consciousness that it was a bad deity until every time I went into magical rituals to see them, there it was, Anubis. And I was
oh
like,
gosh,
and there the souls were trapped. They're telling you, if you read the text, if you've been the weighing of the heart, if you've been bad, you don't pass over, and Anubis is the gatekeeper. But if you look at the lineage of high level magic and what happens with the heart is connected to the soul body. And in the highest level of Freemasonry, and if you go to the Hellfire's Cave, it'll be written on the wall, the person that was owning that gave their heart, and it's in the ground. And they said, I give my heart to this
right.
secret society. It's basically saying, I'm giving my soul body over. So it's this is the level of magical work that you're working with. So,
Mm.
that soul trap is very related to Anubian and ancient Egyptian magic. And it's why Aleister Crowley and all the rest of the dabblers work with it. Not to say all Egyptian magic is bad, it's not. But it's been infiltrated.
It absolutely has. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not denigrating. I've got a lovely friend who speaks very highly of them, and I guess there are elements that people can work with. I don't know. It's not something that I'm comfortable with. I don't work with them at all.
I don't, I can't be. And I had a lot of lifetimes in ancient Egypt through Atlantis. And I haven't seen, I can only recommend people don't work with them. I'm going to stand by that. I've spoken out about that. That's how I met Fergus. I
Ah,
literally
yeah.
someone was
Okay.
talking about working with Thoth in a
Wow.
big level. And I just said in this big conference, I was like, is no one going to say it? And I said, just check in. Thoth is known to have stolen the Akashic records, and when you look into the lineage of magic, some pretty dark things there. How do you feel about that? And then I think she came back to me with, well, I work with a lot of celebrities and I work with a lot of people in it. Yeah, so I think I know.
Oh
And I
gosh.
thought, well, if you're telling me you work with a lot of celebrities, that isn't helping to answer my problem. And then Fergus came over to me and went, I think we need you to fight the spiritual war. Can
Yes.
we talk?
That's why I love him. It's gorgeous. For those who don't know, Fergus wrote 180 Degrees. Look it up. It's a fantastic book. Fantastic. Any other questions, anybody, or shall we let Cheryl go? Because we've been chatting for a fair while. Doesn't look like it. Anything on your lips, Billy?
I just want to say thank you. That was awesome. I didn't have any questions. Well, you actually answered all my questions, so you must have heard me. Like I was thinking it, and you said exactly what I need to hear. So perfect. So yeah, thank you, and it's a good way to finish the year. So yeah, it's been a great year having all these different guests, and yeah, I've learnt so much, and I'm sure the listeners have learnt a lot too. So thank you for coming on and yeah, sharing your experiences. It's amazing.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. And yeah, thank you for everyone that does the ley line work in any way. You are the super soldiers of spirit, let's say.
Yeah, we're winning this war. We're winning this war. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Billy. And we'll see you in the next KTS. See you guys.